voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah, it's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
John, it's the Barbershop Boys, and you know what that means? What day is it, John Combest?
It's not TGIM, but it is Friday.
It is Friday. We all start the show off with the Barbershop Boys on Friday. Just a special little thing, and to the point where I love Barbershop, and I think that's a really good rendition of the Brad and John show for Friday. John, I have a little bit of housekeeping to do before we get into the top three this morning.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
Well, you know, this county executive race is getting very contentious. And Bill Eigel has put out a statement that the pictures of him asleep in the chambers were not him asleep. He was actually putting his head down. He was texting screenshots of his speedometer at 168 miles an hour on I-70 to Adam Schnelting. And he essentially, the text was, ha, 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 I went faster than you did today. So that was not Bill Eigel asleep in the chambers in the Senate. It was him texting Adam Schnelting. At that time, a rep, but soon to be a senator, actually taking over Bill Eigel's spot. Isn't that what he did? Didn't Adam Schnelting take over Bill Eigel's district or whatever you call it?
Yeah, but you can never say that anyone could fill Bill Eigel's shoes.
Because he wears a size 18. You ever seen it before?
I think so, Brad. And congratulations. I appreciate your continuity from yesterday. I made a little rib that we would see if we could go 5 days in a row this week where you could beat an Adam Schnelting left lane legislation to death, horse to death. And you did it. I don't know if it's dead yet, Brad, but you did make 5 days in a row. It's better than hearing that god-awful Dorothy clip like we used to in September.
John, I never once said anything about left lane with Bill Eigel there. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about because not once did I ever mention that. And you know what? You're right, because it's interesting because I did talk to a woman in the Senate who knew Bill Eigel very well, and I said, what do you think of him? And she looked at me and she said,
what would you do with a brain if you had one?
Sorry, John, you set me up on that one. Okay.
I wonder if Rodney King would have anything to say either.
Hold on a minute. Rodney King, what would he say?
I want to say, you know, can we all get along? Can we get along?
And we can't.
And then, do you know the Rodney King response actually is in response to, because Rodney used to listen to Westplex Talk 104.5,
right.
And he heard about 5 times a day, well, I don't know if we'll be exchanging friendship rings, but no, seriously, Mr. Gorbachev. Yeah, that's what it was in response to, Brad.
But you know how we can sort of get into the top three?
I don't know, Brad. How can we do it?
It'll all make sense by this.
I don't even know where to start from all of the things that have been said that are just wrong.
How about that, John?
You sure know how to tug on my heartstrings, Brad.
That is John Combest. Every single day of his life, he puts together this incredible list of all the important stuff you should know that's going on in the state of Missouri. Now, what we do every single day, we count down the top three. We bring in this guy right here.
I'm Casey Kasem.
But on Fridays, we have a special intro. And what do we do with Friday, John? Who do we bring in?
It's the Polka Boys.
Yes, the Polka Boys. And they sing this song.
Time for the John Combest top three.
And John takes over and knocks it out of the park as he normally does. Oh, no, I need to do number 3, don't I? I'm sorry.
I need a little cue here, Brad.
I'm still loopy. I'm still not 100%. Okay, here we go.
In third place.
You know, sometimes things just outlive their usefulness. Brad's gallbladder, Brad's prostate gland. And according to Catherine Hanaway, the Missouri St. Louis City Sheriff's Office, a headline from Brian Munoz from St. Louis Public Radio. Missouri Attorney General says St. Louis Sheriff's Office should be abolished. This relic from the olden days, it might be time to go away. Here's what Catherine Hanaway said on Thursday, yesterday. It isn't a traditional sheriff's office in the sense that it doesn't have law enforcement responsibility. And there have been some arguments, about who's supposed to do what. We don't need a sheriff in the city of St. Louis, but we especially don't need this sheriff. So Ms. Hanaway is saying we should dissolve the sheriff's office in St. Louis City and reassign its duties to other parts of the city that actually have a little bit of enforcement power and, dare I say, competence. So this is a pretty cool evolution of the Alfred Montgomery story. Both AG Andrew Bailey and now AG Catherine Hanaway were hot on the tail of Mr. Montgomery, who's now in the clink. So, Brad, to me it seems to make a lot of sense. If the sheriff's office doesn't really do much except roll some golden dice and put employees in handcuffs, pause, why don't we just dissolve it and give the real work to other people?
Let me turn my microphone back on. John, what's interesting about this is I disagree with Miss Hanaway, or Ms. Hanaway, whatever you want to call them. You know, you're not supposed to use Ms. anymore. Did you know that Ms. is now out?
Oh, wow. Yeah, let me update my patriarchy misogyny dictionary.
Right, okay. Because it's a very common practice. St. Louis County has a police department, but they have a sheriff as well, too, and they have sheriff's deputies. St. Charles County used to be the only police department. St. Charles County was the St. Charles County Sheriff's Department, and they changed that. They made it into the St. Louis or St. Charles County Police Department, but they still have the sheriff, and the sheriff has duties of essentially taking care of the jail and transporting prisoners and serving, subpoenas and stuff like that, process servers, stuff like that. I think she's wrong on that, and I think if you go into most counties and most of the larger counties in the state of Missouri, you do have in the cities you have I know for a fact in Kansas City they have a police department and a sheriff's department. I'm pretty sure the same thing in Springfield and Columbia. It's just the way they are. It's the way they're set up. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I think so. I think there's 100% correlation between you previously working in an industry, like being a police dispatcher, and you being excessively nitpicky about any attempts to tweak the office.
Well, the problem there is, here we go again. All it is Catherine Hanaway's a Republican, and the city of St. Louis is predominantly Democrat. Everybody in there is a Democrat. We haven't had a Democratic mayor in the city of St. Louis, since like the 40s or something like that? Coming up in
40s or 50s,
80 years or some crazy number like that. So, it's just to the point where it's like, okay, the problem is, you let people elect people, and sometimes they don't elect the right people. You know what I'm saying, John? That's the problem.
Well, in our opinion,
right.
They're not the right people.
Well,
first of all, I would push back and say that there's a number of Republicans, be it Steve Ellman or AG Catherine Hanaway, that seem to have a good relationship with Mayor Kara Spencer, and she's a Democrat. But secondly, Brad, it goes back to what I always say. Let me beat one of my dead horses and say the people get the government they deserve. And if you elect Kim Gardner, well, that's what you get. You elect Tashara Jones, that's what you get. And if you elect Alfred Montgomery, that's what you get.
To the point, and I'll say one thing before we move on. I'm all for this Zoran Mamdani guy becoming mayor of the city of New York, because I think what that's going to do is it's after he gets done with doing what he's doing, people are going to go, okay, that's not the way we want to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's one of the arguments in favor of him is that you got to have someone like that to serve as a straw man. And as I've said before, Brad, as it relates to that guy in New York, it's kind of like when we had Cori Bush in St. Louis. It's not as much fun to beat up on Wesley Bell, who's a pretty reasonable guy,
right,
as it is to beat up on Cori Bush, proverbially.
And he doesn't have a girlfriend. Is he married? I don't know. If he doesn't have a girlfriend who is his personal protection. And
that's correct. Yeah, I don't think Wesley and his team would. I don't think they'd let that happen, Brad. I think they have a lot of. I think they have some good judgment over there.
Yeah, and he's got a nice hairdo. I always love his do. Okay, you ready for number 2?
Oh yeah.
Up a notch to number 2.
A national story on a drug topic that we've never talked about. And in fact, I wasn't smarting up to this topic until I saw this Fox News headline. Lawmakers race to stop next fentanyl crisis with crackdown on nitazenes, synthetic opioids. This is by Morgan Phillips of Fox News. And specifically, I'll just read the opening here, Brad. A trio of Republican senators is introducing a coordinated slate of legislation to crack down on nitazenes, a class of synthetic opioids that are little known to the public, but increasingly viewed by law enforcement and health officials as potentially the next fentanyl-level crisis. Here's where Missouri gets involved. Senators Eric Schmitt of Missouri, and then a couple of other dudes throughout the country, unveiled 3 new bills aimed at addressing the growing spread of nitazenes through law enforcement, technology, and foreign policy measures. The push represents one of the most aggressive congressional efforts yet to get ahead of what experts warn could be a deadly new chapter in America's opioid epidemic. I won't read the rest of it, but each of these guys, including our own Senator Schmitt, has a version of the legislation that would have, for example, Schmitt's bill would have the DEA develop new technology capable of detecting trace amounts of these nitazenes. And as you could expect, Brad, a lot of these are just brought in from other countries. And, what's kind of funny about this, when I first saw this headline, I thought it was related to this story about 7OH. Have you heard the 7OH story at all, Brad?
I haven't. Tell me about 7OH.
Okay, it sounds like, first of all, I know it sounds like a punchline based on your Dr. Oz's having 200 O's a year, but it's a completely different thing. 7OH is apparently some sort of drug that's related to kratom. You know, like when you drive around and see those signs in neon at like head shops that say kratom. Have you seen that before?
Yeah, the KDB, whatever, or CDB, whatever it is, yes.
Yeah. And a lot of the stores have kratom too. So apparently in Kansas City, and I haven't mentioned it in our top 3 because they haven't been huge stories, but kratom has a product or byproduct, I guess, called 7OH, which is over the counter and apparently gets you high, but in a different way than like a cannabinoid or something like that. Anyway, so apparently now we have 2 scourges, if you take law enforcement at face value. You have the 7OH, which is sold over the counter, and then you have these synthetic opioids. Now, I don't think the synthetic opioids that Schmitt and company have in their sites, I don't think that those are, available over the counter now, at least not in some stores in Missouri. But anyway, Brad, I guess it just goes to show that we're always going to continue evolving ways to get high and people to numb their pain and get away from the pressures of the real world.
So and where do the cannabis people come in on this? And where does Mr. Hemp, your dude, what's his name? Eapen Thampy? What is he?
Yeah, that's close, Brad. You got pretty close to it. Now, Eapen, I'm sorry to cut you off, but Eapen, I haven't asked him to weigh in on kratom or on these opioids. I think he's mostly focused on marijuana. And in fact, Brad, tomorrow, since due to your technological incapabilities, you were unable to have him call into the show. And I say that lovingly, Brad.
Yeah, right.
Tomorrow at 10 a.m. on the Farm Show, right here on Westplex Talk 104.5, you can hear Eapen Thampy discuss what's next for the 2026 Missouri hemp and, well, I've been educated on this. It's actually just marijuana ballot initiative that includes cannabis, includes marijuana and hemp. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., what's actually going to happen with that ballot initiative? Will it stay or will it go now?
A little song lyric there. Okay, ready for number 1?
Let's do it, Brad.
The number 1.
I was prepared to talk about the ghosts and goblins of the government taking away SNAP money. And then I saw a fascinating piece of information on social media. It's brought to us by Chelsea Rodriguez, and she informs us on X.com. You can follow her by going to Chelsea Rodrigo. Chelsea informs us that it's not just any Halloween. It's not just the eve of SNAP going away. No, it's an important day in Missouri Democrat history. I'll use Chelsea's words. October 31st, 2025. Missouri Democratic Party officials officially buy a $600,000 building in Jeff City with 2 staff who don't live there. And they replaced the comms director, aside to you, Brad. That's Chelsea. Replaced the comms director with a consultant. Dems AF. You know what that means, Brad?
I keep turning my mic off so I won't bother you. Yes, I do know what that means.
Okay, so Dems AF, that's kind of the mode they're in right now. They still have no staff, but hired a consultant to, quote, launch on hired a consultant to, quote, launch. And then Chelsea writes, November 1st, 650,000 Missourians lose SNAP. So I think Chelsea's point here, if I'm interpreting it correctly, is that we have 650,000 Missourians that are going to lose SNAP benefits tomorrow. And the Missouri Democratic Party, instead of, I don't know, looking for a way to do something about this, is instead buying a $600,000 building in Jeff City. And not to be outdone, this was a Chelsea retweet of her previous tweet in which she said early this morning, "Good morning to everyone except Missouri Democrats who do things like hire consultants and buy buildings instead of investing in staff." And then she shows a line from the Whispering Gallery about the Missouri Senate Campaign Committee, that's a bunch of Republicans, raising money. And Chelsea says, why can the GOP put up these numbers? They have real infrastructure and staffing. If you don't know how staff gets you here, hire some. So, Brad, October 31st, 2025, a date which will live in infamy. The Missouri Democratic Party, after firing one of their best strategists, if not the best strategist they've had in years, they buy a building in Jeff City for no one to work in, but they do get 19 parking spots. Isn't that a good decision, Brad?
I don't understand that whole thing. I mean, it's...
Wait, hold on. I got to interrupt. Are you questioning the new Grant Cardone, Russ Carnahan? You know, he's right up there with the greatest real estate legends. I heard he sat under the learning tree of Ash Sherry in North County, Brad.
Well, if you're buying an office building and you don't have any staff, why are you buying it? Now, they're not going to sublease it or anything like that. Are they going to rent the parking spaces out or something like that? Would that be something?
Yeah, actually what I heard was they're going to get some Democrat state reps to stand out there as parking attendants. And then like when the folks don't have a committee hearing or like if the legislature adjourns early, you know, it's quite often that Republicans don't have their stuff together. You could send some freshman members out there and just serve as parking attendants to the lot. Parking in Jeff City is a big issue, Brad.
Yeah.
And Brad, you ask a brilliant question, as is your wont, and you say, why does it make sense for Democrats to buy this building? Brad, what possible sense does it make? Don't you think maybe, I don't know, somebody might be making some money off this thing? So here's one of two things. I think either somebody's making money about this or on this and they're not talking about it, or number two, the party's just wildly incompetent. And the easy answer is to say both, but I don't think it is. Either somebody got a really sweet deal on this and is making a commission or is making a long-term, dare I say, kickback, or they're just idiots.
Well, if Dan Borgmeyer were a Democrat, and he's not, people would be saying, well, that's because Dan Borgmeyer owns the building. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his second cousin.
Right, his second cousin.
His second cousin was married to a guy that dated a girl
right.
that owned the building.
That was all the crap that came out about him with the data center where he said his third cousin, fourth time removed, owns part of the property, and Dan's going to make a payday out of the thing. Yeah, as funny Dan said, I don't even know who that is.
Well, yeah, now, hold on. I know I don't want to go too far down this path. But I think it was like a first or second cousin, and then Dan said he didn't know it. And it's like, I don't know Borgmeyer, but that seemed a little fishy. But let's get back to this, Brad. If you're a Democrat in 2026, imagine you're a Chelsea Rodriguez or you're a Chelsea Rodriguez disciple. And there are Chelsea Rodriguez acolytes throughout the state of Missouri. And you just busted your you-know-what. As Chelsea's people would say, their culo. If you just busted your culo for Democrats and you come up a little short in a state rep district or two, you think, I wonder what our party could have done if we started in the fall of 2025. We had real staff, we made real plans, and we executed on that. But instead, we have an empty building with 19 parking spots.
But we had
Good job, Russ.
But we had a great wrestling match with beard pulling. I mean, that didn't.
We did have some beard pulling. We sure did. Maybe that could become an annual October thing. You could just call it Hoosierfest. Maybe you could just move it to Kenrick Plaza. Or you know what? You could even host it at Dave Sinclair, Brad.
They could do that on WIL. Hey, it's the 10th annual Hoosierfest. Come on down. You got a beard.
There will be no besmirching of WIL. I grew up listening to Debbie and David in the morning. They're the ones that told me if my school was going to be canceled, Brad.
Hey, I'm going to ask you a weird question. Do you remember me doing traffic? Because I did traffic on the air with Debbie and David back in the day, way back when. Do you remember me?
Yeah, I do remember there was a guy that kept beating dead weather and traffic forces. was that you?
That was me. Okay. Hold on a minute.
Brad, wait a minute. Are they going to have to take your lung out?
Yeah.
You might have to get a 3-for-1, prostate, gallbladder, and lung.
You don't want to hear about my medical visit yesterday?
I do. Brad, I didn't know if you would want to share anything, so I'm generally pretty cautious about that, but I would love to hear it in B Block.
We'll talk about that in C Block. We'll move it to C Block, okay?